Hi-de-ho, YouTubers. Once a month, Mrs. Goat Hollow and I have lunch with some good friends of ours. They have a YouTube channel, our friends, called Off-Grid Homestead, the Mud Puddle. I'll post a link down in the more info box, and you can check their channel out. It's a good channel. Show them some love, will you? Anyhow, we were having lunch a while back, and something in the conversation, I can't even remember what we were talking about, reminded me of a video that I had seen a while ago on the Bushradical YouTube channel. And I'll post a link to that video too. But he had posted a video, Bushradical had, and I forget, it was something like, living off-grid, a day in the life off-grid, I can't remember. But the trolls, the internet trolls, came out of the woodwork on his video, and he's supposedly off-grid. Well, they were giving him stuff because he cooked store-bought eggs on a propane stove. And so he posted an entire video refuting all that, talking about what it really means to live off-grid. Now, the Martin Johnson YouTube channel, I'll post a link to that one too. A lot of links now. Did a great video where they looked up the definition of off-grid. And they took the definition point by point and went through it and described how they were replacing all of the utilities and things that most people in America have. My definition of off-grid is a lot more simplistic. If you don't have any wires or pipes running into your place, you're off-grid. It's just that simple. So, we certainly don't where we live. Now, Bushradical, this guy lives 20 miles outside of Fairbanks, Alaska. You cannot get more remote than that. We're kind of close. The nearest place I can buy store-bought eggs is a 50-mile round trip. We don't. We grow our own. But if you're thinking about living off-grid, that's great. And there are pros and cons. We have a four-wheel drive pickup with off-road suspension and all-terrain tires. Sometimes we can't get out to get that dozen store-bought eggs or a gallon of milk, or even check our post office box because we don't get mail delivered where we live. And it can be a challenge. It sure can. But if you listen, it's awful darn quiet out here right now. And that's a big plus. More than that, living off-grid is a way to become more resilient. I don't know how you might feel about it, but I feel like our future here in the United States is pretty damned uncertain. A lot of things happening that I don't like. Being off-grid gives us more resilience. If you're in a city and your water becomes undrinkable, Mrs. Goat Hollow and I don't have to worry about that. We're all on rain catchment, or at least we're trying to be. And we have our own filtering systems, and the water we drink tastes better than bottled water. if you're on the electrical grid and the power goes out, like it did in Texas a couple years ago. People froze to death. We don't have to worry about that. We create our own electricity and we heat our house with wood. And as you can see, even from this shot, we got plenty of wood to burn. Every step you take towards being more off-grid self-sufficient is a step that allows you to not have to rely on outside sources. I said we make our own eggs. Well, shoot, guys. Right now we're still buying chicken feed. All of our kitchen scraps become eggs for us. But we're still buying some chicken feed. They don't go through a lot. They go through, about a bag a month. But it's a 120-mile round trip to the nearest place I can buy a bag of chicken food. So we're working every day towards becoming more self-sufficient. And I'm working on ways to reduce the amount of chicken food we have to buy. And if you follow my channel, if you subscribe, you'll see some of that. Because as I go along, I'll try and document it here on YouTube. But the more resilient you can be to outside influences, the less influence they are going to have on you. Anyhow, think about it, consider it. It's not out of reach for most of us. If you live in a big city and have a tract home somewhere in the suburbs, you probably have enough equity to come out into the middle of nowhere and pay cash once you sell your home in the city. We were able to do that. But again, it's 25 miles each way to the nearest place I can buy a gallon of milk. And in the wintertime, the roads are pretty awful, or when it rains. So a lot of people don't want to live out here. It has its pluses and minuses. As you can see, it's quiet and peaceful, and we absolutely love it. We'll get through this. I'll talk to you next time.
Yes, dear. Anything you say, dear. I love you. Please don't hit me again.
Silly wabbit. I'm too sexy for my hat. Too sexy for my hat. What you think about that? I'm too sexy for the wabbit. Sexy for the wabbit. The silly widow wabbit. I'm too sexy for your party. Too sexy for your party. No way I'm disco dancing. I'm too sexy for my gun. Too sexy for my gun. Uh-oh.